144Hz 8.8-inch display, 12GB of RAM, 5G connectivity, all for under $350, and powering it all, the MediaTek Dimensity 8300. Quick look at the box content. Always good to know what you're actually getting. Inside you get a USB-C charging cable, a quick start guide, charging brick. It's a 2-pin adapter, so you'll need a UK plug converter, and finally a SIM SD card ejector tool. Moving on to the design and build. At around 8.8 inches, this thing hits that sweet spot where it's easy to hold one-handed, comfortable for long gaming sessions, and actually portable in a way most tablets just aren't. The build itself is clean and functional. Only one colorway though, and that's great. No flashy design gimmicks here, just a solid no-nonsense chassis that feels well put together. You get nice and tactile volume and power buttons, though I wish they were on separate sides, as I often accidentally lock the tablet when going to change the volume and vice versa. A USB-C 3.0 port, we'll see what that's capable of soon. 2 speaker grills flanking the sides, a SIM and SD card tray, which is good for 2 nano SIMs or 1 SIM and an SD card. And then we have Wi-Fi 6E, step up from last year's Wi-Fi 6, along with Bluetooth 5.3, an array of sensors including GPS, accelerometer and gyroscope, along with a dual vibration motor with moderate haptics, but still nice to have on a tablet. Overall, not top of the line, but still a very well equipped tablet at this price. Let's talk about the screen, because this is one of the headline features. You're getting an 8.8-inch LCD panel with 1600 by 2560 resolution, so that's around 340 ppi, 144Hz refresh rate, so quite similar to the 70 Mini Ultra. We do get a few useful features in the settings, things like adjusting the refresh rate with different options and various options to boost colors of the display itself. Generally, everything looks nice and sharp. Animations are ridiculously smooth, and scrolling through apps or social feeds feels fast and responsive. For video, YouTube supports 4K 60fps with HDR support, so that's nice to see. Our footage looks nice and crisp. Colors are punchy without going nuclear. Netflix supports wideband level 1 with full HD playback. No HDR support here though. But again, nice clean sharp video on all your streaming platforms. Peak brightness lands in at around 500 nits. That's comfortably bright for indoor use, but under harsher outdoor lighting, visibility will take a slight hit. Viewing angles are really good. There's a slight dip in brightness at more extreme angles and a tiny bit of temperature change, but overall still really nice when off axis. Is it OLED? No, but for an LCD at this size and refresh rate, it punches well above its weight. Super sharp and really nice colors. If you're buying this primarily for gaming or media, the display does not disappoint. And as you're getting a USB 3.0 port, you can connect to an external monitor through the USB-C port and mirror your tablet display. Handy if you want to scale things up onto a larger screen. There's no way to extend the display here. Straight after the display, let's talk audio. The dual speakers here are okay. They're not exactly class leading, and adjustment wise you only have a high fidelity toggle in the sound settings. I mean, it's always hard to convey what something sounds like over a video, but to my ears the speakers sound a little bit better than the 70 Mini Ultra.
Touch me. Oh, baby tail. Leave us alone.
Dialogue comes through nice and clear, which is what matters for most films and shows. There's decent audio separation in landscape, though the low end is fairly light. Music playback sounds, I'd say, balanced overall, though bass is definitely limited. You get decent clarity, vocals and instruments, but this isn't going to replace headphones or external speakers.
Alpha secure.
I mean, game audio stays clean and balanced even during busy scenes. It doesn't add a huge immersion through the bass, but sound effects remain easy to kind of distinguish. New flagship chipset and productivity leaning software, all packed into a slab under £450. But for everyday content like YouTube or social media, the speakers are perfectly fine. They get loud enough, I'd say, for casual viewing, and the voices are kept clear, so good enough for those kind of things. Not the best that I've heard on any tablet by far, but they are a little bit of a step up from last year's 70 Mini Ultra. Alright, let's address the elephant in the motherboard. Last year, the 70 Mini Ultra ran the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3, a chip that genuinely felt flagship adjacent. This year, we've got the Dimensity 8300, and naturally, the big question is this a downgrade? The answer isn't exactly black and white. Without getting too technical, architecturally, yes, we're moving away from Qualcomm's single high-powered Cortex X4 Prime core to MediaTek's approach of using multiple high-performance Cortex A715 cores instead. So rather than relying on one ultra-powerful burst core, this chip spreads performance across several strong cores working together. Snapdragon leaned more towards finesse and peak bursts. This leans more towards balance, endurance, and keeping performance stable over time. So really, this is less of a downgrade or upgrade question and more of a performance personality shift. Now, where the differences become more noticeable is in gaming, which is what this tablet is built for. If you're a serious gamer, then Adreno is still the gold standard for optimization and emulation. That hasn't changed, but the Immortalis GPU here is far better than people give it credit for. We're going to put that all to the test in the gaming section coming up. In everyday use, performance is exactly where you'd want it to be. Apps load quickly, multitasking is nice and smooth, and during my testing I didn't notice any stutters or slowdowns. And paired with the 12GB of LPDDR5 RAM, which is expandable via RAM expansion, and 256GB UFS 3.1 storage. Software-wise, the iPlay 80 Mini Ultra runs Alldocube OS 5.0L, built on top of Android 16. You get useful gestures and things like split-screen shortcuts. You have DuoSpeed, which helps boost the foreground app by restricting background apps, and you can toggle which apps to allow to run in the background. But if you want to push it with a bit more of a productive setup, then you can pair a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse and essentially turn it into a mini laptop setup. Of course, the display isn't the biggest, so it's not ideal for long intensive sessions, but it's perfectly usable for word processing, spreadsheets, emails, and general admin work. For light productivity on the go, it absolutely gets the job done. External storage read speeds like the SD card I have in here right now are nice and fast with fairly quick read and write speeds, so things like video playback are almost instant. And the MediaTek 8300 has enough grunt to be able to edit 4K videos on here, though if imported in at full quality there is a little bit of lag when scrubbing, so it might be better to import in compressed. And then actual decent speeds when exporting 4K projects from the device, taking 2 minutes and 41 seconds to export this 4K project, which was roughly 5 minutes long. Now, to be balanced, this isn't as polished or feature rich as say Samsung or Apple's tablet software. Update support historically isn't the best either, and visually the UI is fairly plain, quite close to stock Android, but if you like clean minimal look, you probably enjoy it. Personally, I prefer a bit more character in my UI, but in everyday use it's stable, clean and functional, and for a compact tablet at this price, Alldocube OS 5.0L does its job without getting in the way. And this naturally leads into gaming because that's where people will judge this chip the hardest. So we'll jump into some gaming. I'm not into emulation and we'll only be testing games available on the Play Store itself. I mean, gaming performance can make or break a tablet like this, but numbers alone don't tell the full story. So I tested a mix of heavy hitters, competitive titles, and casual games to see how this actually holds up in real world use. Before jumping into the games, here's how everything was tested. I connected my PS5 controller and locked brightness and volume at consistent levels to keep testing fair. Starting battery percentage was 94% and starting surface temperature was 34 degrees Celsius using my temperature gun to measure. Now let's see how this performs when things get demanding. Starting with the heavy hitters, the games that kind of really push CPU and GPU performance. Running COD Warzone at low visual quality, which is the highest available, and uncapped FPS. Combat encounters remained fluid with responsive controls even during chaotic firefights. I mean, there was occasional jitters, but nothing detrimental. After 30 minutes of extended gameplay, surface temperature reached around 43 degrees. Moving over to Core X with graphics settings maxed out. Vehicle physics and environmental rendering remained smooth during high-speed driving, and I would say performance remained stable with the FPS averaging around the mid-30s, though you can improve that by dialing down the visual settings. Overall, the chip manages sustained workloads well, and after 30 minutes gameplay there, temperature reached around 42 degrees, battery dropping to 68%, so a loss of 26% there. Next up, Wuthering Waves with graphics maxed out again. Character animations and combat effects remain fluid during heavy encounters. Performance again remained stable, though again maybe a hiccup here and there with frames dropping, but overall FPS was probably around the 30 to 40 range here, I'd say. And after 30 minutes of gameplay, temperature reached around 41 degrees with battery dropping down to 56%. In games like COD Mobile, we have very high graphic quality and ultra frame rate, and I toggled on all the other options. Input response feels extremely sharp as it does with COD Mobile, and the high refresh rate display really improves aiming smoothness. Nice and smooth gameplay as always with COD Mobile. After 30 minutes, surface temperature reached around 46 degrees, which I was quite surprised at as COD Mobile usually doesn't warm up devices much. Battery dropped down to 42%. In PUBG, running highest graphics is HDR with ultra frame rate, or Super smooth graphics unlocks extreme frame rate, which is capped at 60 FPS. Performance here was all good, ran nice and smooth with graphics looking decent enough, and throughout it remained stable. After 30 minutes again, temperature came down to 39 degrees with battery dropping to 33%. And for lighter titles like Roblox running at max graphics, gameplay felt effortless with consistently smooth performance across multiple game modes, and I didn't find any stutters or lagging at any point. Again, I would say stable performance. So finishing off this 3-hour gameplay session with a surface temperature of 42 degrees and battery finishing off at 21%. So a total loss of 73%, which is obviously a huge amount, but we are really pushing it there. And let's be honest, Adreno GPUs are still king of optimization. Snapdragon still wins for emulation and compatibility, but the Immortalis GPU here did surprise me. Stable, efficient enough, and more consistent over long sessions than expected. Will 90% of gamers notice a real world difference? Honestly, probably not. This tablet still delivers flagship adjacent gaming in a compact form without much fuss at all. You get a 7200 mAh battery in a relatively small chassis. Would have been nice to see a bump up from the 70 Mini Ultra, but alas. In my testing, screen on time was decent, landing around 6 to 8 hours of mixed use and 8 to 9 hours if you're mainly just video streaming. Then with heavy gaming around 3.5 to 4 hours as we saw, but keep in mind variables like refresh rate and brightness along with 5G connectivity or Wi-Fi connection will heavily influence those results. But overall, an average experience with the battery life on here, I would say. In battery settings, there isn't much going on at all. You can view battery usage since last full charge, and then you have a bypass supply toggle with a threshold slider from 20% up to 80%. And when it's time to plug in, you get 33 watt fast charging. I mean, I wish we got something a little bit higher than that, but it's better than last year's 20 watt cap. So topping up from 0 to 100% is going to take around an hour and a half and an hour and 45 minutes or so. Cameras are here because they have to be. You get a 13 megapixel rear lens and a 5 megapixel front facing camera. The rear camera is fine for scanning documents or quick snaps. I mean, don't expect anything crazy out of these. Things are fairly limited. Video resolution here tops out at 4K 30 FPS, and the front camera is fine for video calls, Teams, Zoom, the usual stuff. Though using it in landscape means it's offset to the side, so if you're jumping into meetings or catching up with people, I mean, it works fine, but let's be honest, you're not going to be picking this tablet up for photography. So let's come back to the question from the start. Yes, this tablet switched from Snapdragon to MediaTek, and yes, on paper that may sound like a downgrade to some, but in real-world usage, in gaming stability and overall efficiency and value, that concern fades pretty quickly. It also brings some meaningful upgrades over the previous iPlay 70 Mini Ultra, like adding cellular connectivity, improved Wi-Fi performance, Android 16 with a more refined UI, and slightly better sounding speakers. The Alldocube iPlay 80 Mini Ultra isn't perfect, but it understands exactly what it's built for. It's a compact, powerful, portable, high refresh tablet that delivers serious performance without charging flagship money. So if you want a tablet that's built for gaming on the go with proper connectivity, the iPlay 80 Mini Ultra makes the most sense. If you care more about peak performance and emulation and don't need cellular, the iPlay 70 Mini Ultra is still a fantastic option. And if you want a larger screen for productivity, media, gaming and AI features, then stepping up to the Ultra Pad gives you that bigger canvas. If your priority is power, portability and versatility in a small form factor, the iPlay 80 Mini Ultra absolutely earns its place and keeps that compact gaming tablet category very exciting. So that's my review of the 80 Mini Ultra, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.